What's an addiction that people often overlook? Vertical bar r/AskReddit stories. Junk food, sugar, soda. I'm addicted to these things and wish I can break that habit. I quit smoking quite easily, but I cannot for the life of me quit sugar. So much harder emo. When my depression is bad, I'd say sleep. It's a free, safe way to escape, but it ultimately feeds the depression, becoming a bad cycle. It doesn't sound that bad, but it's consuming. Edit. Some people are confused, so I'll clarify. It's not because of lack of rest. It's not the sleep itself. It's the dreaming, escape, a different reality that feels very real. And isn't this one? Maybe I'm just not explaining it right, but yeah. Shopping. I just got back this month after being in rehab for 2 months for weed, alcohol and cocaine. And at my therapy they asked me if I noticed any cross addictions. I told my therapist I think I have a shopping addiction, and she told me it's a common addiction that goes unnoticed way too much times. This one needs to be higher. I know people with a shopping addiction. They do it to either fill a void, especially after a death, or because they feel like they'll need things someday. My mom had a shopping addiction and credit issues as a result her whole adult life. But after my dad died, mom was in her 60s then. It spiraled out of control. She couldn't or wouldn't stop herself. At the time of her death 10 months ago, she had opened 20 credit cards and maximumed them all out, and that was after declaring bankruptcy 10 years earlier. She had piles of unopened packages in the house. She didn't even open the things she bought. She just got some kind of dopamine hit from shopping and buying. Work addiction. Most people will say they dislike working extra, but the responsibility you feel towards your co-workers and the purpose work gives your life can make you work more than you should. Source: addicted to work. I worked for one manager who literally had an addiction to work so bad it was ruining her life. She was a recovering drug addict, and I guess staying busy helped her cope, but she just traded one addiction for another. We worked for a corporate retail chain, and she would be the first one there and the last one to leave every day, and never scheduled herself a day off. She would clock herself out when she hit her 40 hours to avoid her getting flack from her management, but she was easily working 110 plus hours a week, and more than half of that was unpaid. Her family, her ex-husband and her kids would come by periodically and try to get her to go home, and her entire staff including me constantly tried to get her to just go home. But she was afraid the place couldn't run without her present for even a second. It was really sad, because we could all see her obsession with being there was destroying her mentally and physically, as her sleep had to have been horrendously impacted since she was there 15 to 16 hours a day. I spoke with ours about it, and they said they had already been aware of it for some time, and that they weren't going to do anything about it. That incredible amount of incredulity and not giving a shit about the super illegal and dangerous fact that they were letting an employee work for free for 70 plus hours a week was obviously a huge red flag for me. So that was my last day. A couple years later now, she still works there and this is still happening. News addiction. People get addicted to the cortisol hit from getting outraged, so a lot of news outlets realize they just need to keep the cortisol flowing. Outrage is an addiction. Some people seek it out, actively searching for a reason to hate their neighbors, just so they can get their hit of dopamine. It feeds news addiction, tribalism, and eventually extremism. It's the source of so much violence, so many divided houses and ruined lives, but we do nothing to curb it. Social media addiction, including Reddit. Source: Reddit addict. Self-isolating due to social anxiety. It's not an addiction, I know, but it gets me high knowing how lonely I am, and there is nothing I can do about it. I'm not overweight or unattractive, but I love beating myself up about how socially inept I am. I'm addicted to feeling sorry about myself, even though I'm relatively good looking and in shape. Phone addiction. No explanation needed. Caffeine. Porn addictions. Doesn't seem blatantly harmful, but over the long term it can really affect you negatively. I had a coworker that was fired because he used to spend 7 hours a day watching porn from the work computer. It can be harmful the short term too. I always laughed at the idea of video game addiction. It sounded so overblown, until I met a guy who honestly defined it for me. We used to chat and hang out weekly. He quit his job and now just lives at home with his mum, mooching off her to sit in his room and play games for close to 16 hours a day. After refusing to hang out for long enough, I just gave up on him. Anything legal but bad for your longevity. Alcohol. sugar, and sugar derivatives. People really overlook the detrimental effects of sugar. It's the root of incredible varieties of medical conditions. Staying up late for no reason than because you're afraid to miss out on anything. Emotional abuse, trauma bonds are effing real. Run while you can. I met this guy who said we fit together like the tops of bell jars. It was so weird how much we related and connected. And he's a sleazy mess. Just because someone feels like home does not mean they are good for you. Thankfully I was older and wiser and gracefully walked away. I read somewhere that if you meet someone and they instantly feel like home, you need to carefully consider what kind of home you came from, and if you want to replicate it. Total aha moment for me. Tribalism. People become indoctrinated and too engrossed to realize it. People become so addicted they choose to kill over sports, vehicle types, religion or religions, politics, etc., and it's by design. People act less intelligent when they're a part of a group. Mob mentality. Edited because syntax/grammar police attacked my autofill. Proofread everything, kids. Outrage is the addiction. Tribalism is just one of the many crack pipes through which it is consumed. People are seeking outrage. Tribalism gives a sense of legitimacy to the outrage. The wine mom personality. Drinking that much wine. Only able to attend your kid's sporting events with a water bottle full of alcohol. Drinking every time there's a social event. Even if you don't feel the need to. Drinking because your kid is crying. Drinking because you don't like your husband. Like honey. You're addicted. Food. Eating is one addicting activity you can't quit. What a nightmare. Gym addiction. It's the only thing keeping me sane these days. Started cause I wanted to gain muscles. Now the thought of taking a prolonged rest is quite dreadful. Bro wipes his tears off at his giant, massive biceps. Self-harm. I still get withdrawals, and if something scratches my arms in the right way I need to take a minute to gather myself. It's been years since I've self-harmed, and I still sometimes have urges to do it. Was looking for this comment. PPL don't realize how genuinely addictive it is. Control. Prescription drugs like benzos. I think they are getting better at not over-prescribing them though. I hate the new anti-benzo rant the UK NHS is going on. Clonopin was an absolute miracle for me. Literally saved my life. But it took like 4 years of trying crap that didn't work before they gave it to me. After a few years on it, I was able to desensitize my panic triggers and I got off of it. I still carry a pill in case of a panic attack, but I haven't used any in 12 years. And there is a good percentage of patients like me who just carry it around for emergencies, but don't use it. Looks or being ideal in general. Thanks to social media killing people's self-esteem and forcing them to chase in most cases unreachable goal of being picture perfect. Social affirmation. Lots of people spend all their weekends, free time and money on looking cool, successful and or popular to others.